hopefully, and I believe, and legacy is a strong word, and I don't really worry about that word, Daryl, to be honest, in terms of legacy. I worry about the future of the franchise, and I hope and believe that, we did the right things, that we put a plan in place. It dictated, an aggressive teardown in terms of, building the prospect pool, building young players, building the draft capital, and started to execute the plan this past year and through the draft. I've been fortunate in terms, I think, Daryl, at the end of the day, I hope that I leave the franchise and the team in a better place than when we started 2 years ago. And that includes the succession plan and the people that are going to lead the franchise moving forward. And I believe they're going to do an outstanding job. And I'll always be part of the Pats. I'll be always available to Dale and Tristan and for whatever they need. And I just wish them all the best. It was and it wasn't. I think that did I have some thoughts of pause along the way when we won the draft lottery? A little bit of a pause when we were able to put together what we did in draft day. I'm like, this is exciting. When we went through development camp, and I think my experience and bias aside, I thought development camp was going to be good. It exceeded our expectations. The prospect pool is exciting. But along the way, I think, I'm 58 years old now. I've been in junior hockey for a long time. I was back and forth between Regina and Calgary, and it worked over the 2 years because I needed to spend so much time on the road and scouting. But my wife Kelly has a successful practice in Calgary. And, when I looked at the opportunity with Hockey Canada, both personally and professionally, and it's the program of excellence, it's managing the national junior team, it's overseeing the under-18, the under-17 programs, and at the same time, I'm going to have to earn my way within men's programs, but obviously opportunities to potentially get involved with NHL management groups, NHL players, Olympics, World Cups, in terms of now NHL players back in the Olympics, World Cup, or Olympics every 2 years. There's a lot of work to be done at Hockey Canada, and those opportunities just made it a real good fit for me and my family. Yeah, I think, Taylor, that my previous role was Director of Player Personnel, so that was there was building teams, there was scouting, there was evaluations, there was part of putting staffs together and all those things. This position is, as general manager of the POE, is overseeing everything under the program of excellence. It's the first time that Hockey Canada has had a general manager of the national junior team. I'm responsible for everything from World Juniors down, from player selection, team build, coaching staffs, support staff, player environment, player culture, just everything in terms of how we prepare. So there are some similarities, but at the same time, a little bit of a greater role in terms of leading the program as the general manager, and then the potential of opportunities, Taylor, within men's programs moving forward as well. I am. I'm confident in what we've done here. I think the team moves forward with a good young core coming back. I think the prospect pool would be in the top 5 in the entire WHL, maybe even higher, especially with the 5 picks in the first 2 rounds of this recent draft. It was a difficult 2 years. We all understand that. And I think collectively, the majority of people understood that's to get it right. That's what needed to be done. So I have complete confidence in the coaches, the management now, the players. I think the team will take a significant step this year. I think there will be some patience in terms of the plan. I think there needs to be continue to be patience around the development of the young players. But I think that as they move forward here over the next 2 or 3 years, this team's going to be a handful in the league, and they're going to have a chance to win.
I mean, I haven't seen it and been part of that with organizations. There have been organizations when I've been around the league that you see things like that happen. This was by far, in any of my years in the WHL, the most exciting draft. I mean, obviously getting Maddox in the lottery was exciting, but to top that off with then making the trade to get Liam and then still having another pick in the first round, you don't see that very often. It's pretty exciting. Having said that, like anything, these are 15-year-old young men. You have to be patient, as things don't always go the way we all want them to go. These are people. Lives change. They go different ways over time. You're always hoping for the best, that everyone's going to do everything correctly. But let's see 3 years from now when we're sitting here where we're at. Obviously very positive, but also you have to be realistic in that you're not dealing with concrete stuff. You're dealing with people, and many things change in these young people's lives. And in 3 years from now, all the guys we picked in this draft will be different or somewhat have different impacts on their life. So very pumped, but always just cautious that you don't get too ahead of yourself. Well, I think it started when Alan and I got together a year ago. We're going to lead the team. Al was together, which he was, to his word, was correct. Anything and everything we did, it was together. Trades, player movement, whatever had to be done. And usually we were pretty close. We were on the same page. And if we weren't, things wouldn't have worked so well. And that was my worry. Switching, if I were going to come now back to the Pats, having worked with Columbus and still had a contract. But Al, to his word, laid out a plan with a succession plan, and he said we are going to do everything together. So I have the same ideas for the most part that he does. Yes, will I lead a little differently? We're different people. But for the most part, how we view the building of a team, qualities we want in players, coaches, staff, everything is the same. And for the most part, it's just about doing the right things, even if it's hard to do, because there are hard decisions that need to be made and will be made, but you always have to do what's right for the team. The team comes first. And I'll just continue on that. That's how it's going to go. Any decisions I make will be for the team and what's the best for the Pats organization moving forward.
Well, I'm honored, and it's as I mentioned, it's an important time for Hockey Canada and national teams. I don't think anybody is satisfied with 2 quarterfinal losses in the last 2 World Juniors and 2 quarterfinals in the men's Worlds the last 2 years. So it's an important role, and I've been, collectively over my time as a general manager in the CHL, I've had the opportunity to be on the Hockey Canada Management Group, the Hockey Canada GM Committee for over 20 years, back to when I was managing in the late 90s in Guelph. They gave me opportunities to manage Hlinka teams, World Junior teams, while I was part of the management groups of those teams while I was managing teams in the CHL. And then, gave me the opportunity to join full-time as Director of Player Personnel. It's representing Canada on the world stage is special. When I think about how intense and how hard it's going to be getting ready for Minneapolis based on the past 2 years and going into the U.S. and they're looking to three-peat, can't wait to get at it. And so that, that acknowledgement in terms of, And you know, Scott Salmon with his leadership obviously put a new structure in place and a plan in place based on the results the last couple of years, and he's trusted me to lead that, and it's certainly an honor and a privilege anytime you can represent your country, and whether you're a player, a manager, a coach. I won a World Junior Championship with Gord Cochran as our equipment manager. It's special for everybody throughout our national teams.
I don't think I see exactly any path other than what was set out. And as things come at me, along now with Tristan, we'll make decisions to go the way it should go. And right now, we're where we're at. When we leave this room, there might be some decisions that Tristan and I need to make based on we want to acquire a player that might, you know, take us a little bit of a different path. But the path of where we want to go, well, we want to be better. And I think I've mentioned that many times. How good the team can be, it's never going to be good enough. We want to be better. So that's really the path. We'll do daily things, whether it's the coaches doing skill development, whether it's, you know, travel, however things are done, our decisions, we want to be better.
Well, we're all working through the landscape of the game and the changes, and I think, you know, everybody has seen across the CHL the number of, you know, very good players that have made the decision to go to the NCAA. I know in my new position it's extended the geography in terms of what scouting's going to look like. You know, have to get into some more NCAA buildings as we put the national junior team together. But, you know, I think we're still learning through the process, and I think how this organization has looked at it, and you know, this falls back to discussions that I've had with Pritch and Sean Semple moving forward, is that we want to have a program here that there's no excuses why a player would want to leave. That you build a development model, you build it with the right people, plans to improve the development around your team, potentially your facilities, and give yourself the opportunity that players want to stay through their 19-year-old year. They see a path where they have a chance to succeed. They have the chance to succeed as a team. They have a chance to succeed individually. That when they know when they come to Regina at 16, 17 years old that they're going to get better. And I think you have to build it out that way. You know, there's still going to become circumstances where a 19-year-old potentially decides to move on for whatever reason. But I think the plan here now with Pritch and Dirk's leadership is that, you know, we're going to do everything we can from a player environment to culture, facilities, what our development plan is around our young players, that there's no excuses why a player would want to move early out of Regina when they still have junior eligibility left.
I think right now the players leaving is the new sparkly gift, or whatever you want to call it. I think you'll see guys leave, and within a year or two, things will correct itself. You'll have players go down to teams in the NCAA, and maybe it won't just be what they were told it would be. And I think you'll see players return, and you know, it'll correct itself. You know, right now, it is the shiny deal, and I think if any of you have ever gone on a recruiting trip down to the NCAA schools, they make it pretty fashionable and kind of hard to say no. But once you get down there and you actually get on the ice, and you might have been told you're going to be in a certain spot in the lineup, and you're not, all the glitz and glamour doesn't matter. The guys want to play. No. I've never really had a plan once I stopped playing. The jobs just came as they did. I never had any plan of what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. I just worked at whatever job I was in at the time, you know, and that started out. Ross Mahoney hired me with Washington as an amateur scout. That was my first job. And, well, right now, if things in my life didn't go how they kind of did in terms of family, I might still be with the Washington Capitals because most of the staff's still there. But there are twists and turns like in everybody's life, and you make decisions. And me being here today, I did not foresee at all. Truly an honor. Again, I hope I don't get emotional, but I was never supposed to play in this league, okay? One person said I could, other than my family. And I'm in the role of that person who told me that when I was 16 years old. And that's Bob Strum. And by chance, I talked to him yesterday because there's another event where he nominated me that I found out 2 days ago, or that I was going to be part of. So I thanked him, and, well, I told him yesterday I was taking over for him in this role. So pretty exciting. Make the team better. Starting, well, that's all we're doing all the time. We got the import draft, so we're looking at working on that, and that's a fun thing. It's a lot of talking to agents and NHL teams once the draft is over here with the NHL teams choose players that potentially could come over. And there are other ways. You know, there's we have a lot of returning players this year. I think it's 19 guys. And we have some guys coming in that are going to push for spots. Who knows how it's going to look. But that's not everything. We're still looking to add any and everything we can do to make the team better, if that's a player or skill development or whatever. We're open. We want to keep getting better.